Hey guys, tonight we begin with a quiet question, one we've all felt in the marrow of our days and the hush of our nights. Is time real or just a human construct? Welcome. Tonight we will move slowly, like a small light tracing the curve of a room at midnight. We'll listen to the way moments feel under our skin, and we'll gently trace the ideas that scientists, philosophers and poets have whispered about time for centuries. We'll drift from what your everyday life tells you, the tick of a clock, the rhythm of a breath, toward deeper, stranger possibilities. That time might be a dimension, an illusion, an emergent property, or something even stranger still. Over the next chapter, and through the many chapters that will follow in this series, we will explore the mystery of time from every angle. We'll begin with the simple, intimate experience of time, how it feels to you right now, and we'll expand outward into physics, consciousness, memory, culture, and even ideas about what might lie beyond death. Each chapter will be calm, deliberate, and full of imagery to help you relax into the ideas. If you stay with me until the end, you'll have travelled from the familiar surface of time into quiet, surprising depths, and perhaps you will carry home a newfound peace with the unknown. Before we settle in and begin our peaceful journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Only if what I share here truly resonates with you. Your support helps me create more of these videos, and if you feel like it, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see the many corners of the world where we connect. Now, dim the lights, make yourself comfortable, and let's ease into tonight's journey together as we explore what lies ahead. Chapter 1. The Mystery of Time. Imagine for a moment a room at dusk. The light outside softens to the colour of old paper. A child watches a curtain ripple as a slow breeze passes the window. To the child, the shadow of the curtain takes a long, sweet second to cross the floor, and that second feels full. It holds wonder, the pause between questions. That sense, so immediate and intimate, is the foundation of why time feels real. Why time feels so real to us is as simple and as subtle as the rhythm of the heart. From infancy, we use change to make sense of the world. An empty bottle becomes full, the sun climbs then sinks, meals arrive then finish. The brain builds a scaffold from repetition and pattern, and from that scaffold grows the feeling of continuity, of one moment handing us to the next. When you feel that continuity, what you call time, is doing its quiet, patient work. Everyday life is stitched with these patterns. We structure our days with routines and rituals, waking, brushing, walking to work, pausing for coffee, reading before bed. Clocks give us a shared beat. Calendars let societies plan harvests, festivals, births and funerals. Language itself leans on time. Verbs haul the past and future into phrases, and our stories are told as sequences, first this, then that. Time, in this sense, is a communal scaffold. It is the framework we use to make meaning together. Consider the watchmaker's story. In a small shop, a watchmaker sits under a warm lamp. He aligns tiny gears the size of a grain of sand and listens for a steady heartbeat inside metal. For him, the watch is both a tool and an art. It measures, yes, but it also honours the ritual of measuring. When the watch ticks, his hands remember learned motions and his mind remembers customers who returned years later with a familiar smile. The ticking becomes memory and memory becomes pattern. In that little shop, time becomes a companion, useful, dependable, intimate. And yet, a question nudges us softly, like the hush before sleep. What if the companion is a map rather than the land? What if the sense of time is our mind's best attempt to arrange experience in a way that is useful and coherent, rather than a direct reading of how reality fundamentally is. This question, what if time isn't real, is not meant to unsettle you. It is meant to invite curiosity. To imagine time as not ultimately real is to consider that the tick of the watch and the sweep of the seasons are translations, helpful and human, of deeper processes we don't fully perceive. Imagine a painter who flattens a landscape onto canvas. The painting is not the landscape, but it helps others recognize its forms. Likewise, clocks, calendars, and memories might be human paintings of change. When we say time, we may be pointing to several different experiences all at once. There is the experienced flow, how you sense a minute passing as long or short depending on the company you're keeping. There is the measuring of intervals, seconds, minutes, years, that our devices and societies rely on. And there is a deeper, perhaps metaphysical idea, that time is a dimension of the universe, like length or width. To untangle these layers, we need to look gently at each one. First, the psychological layer. The mind organizes events into past, present, and future. Memory stitches yesterday to the day before. Planning tugs us toward tomorrow. This tapestry of mental events produces a felt present, that warm slice of awareness where sensations, feelings, and images arise. But the present is elastic. When you're anxious, moments seem to stretch. When you're absorbed in a book or a song, hours can vanish like breath in cold air. These shifts hint that our sense of time is not a faithful chronometer, but a living, changing thing woven by attention, emotion, and memory. Second, the social layer. Appliances, trains, appointments. Human institutions make time count in shared ways. Think of a city just before dawn. Streetlights glow. A baker lights ovens. A bus pulls away from its stop. There's a choreography born of clocks. Societies invent calendars to coordinate harvests, ceremonies, and commerce. In this way, time is a social artifice, a contract that allows large groups to cooperate. Different cultures have made different contracts. Some measure time by moon cycles, others by the sway of tides, and some emphasize cyclical patterns over linear progression. These cultural differences remind us that human systems sculpt time to fit human needs. Third, the physical layer. In our intuitive life, time seems a move. Cause leads to effect. Seeds sprout into trees. But physics suggests more complex possibilities, some of which we will explore later. For now, notice how the physical and the human layers tell different stories. One is the dense, practical language of clocks and calendars. The other is the quiet poetry of lived experience. To anchor these ideas, let me tell you a small, calm story. A parable that has no hurry and no punchline, only a gentle turning. A traveller once came to a mountain village where people measured time by a bell that rang when the fog lifted. The bell rang at different hours each day, depending on the weather, and the villagers found their rhythms aligned to its voice. They planted when the bell rang early and rested when it rang late. One summer, a clockmaker arrived with a brass clock that ticked the same steady second whether the fog lifted or not. He urged the villagers to use it. See, here is a constant beat. You can plan by it and trade with distant towns. Some villagers welcomed the regular beat, for it allowed them to sell goods farther afield. Others kept listening to the bell, preferring a rhythm tied to the mountain itself. Over time, both rhythms existed, one tuned to local nature, the other to a wider human-made system. Neither was entirely right or wrong. Each served the needs of a life being lived. This little story is an invitation. In your own life, you may find yourself sometimes guided by the bell of nature, intuition, mood, the body's cyclical sense, and sometimes by the brass clock of schedules and commitments. Both are forms of time, Both are real in their own contexts. Finally, as chapter 1 closes, I want to leave you with a soft, retaining thought, a promise of small surprises to come. Later, we will gently open physics' view of time, where space and time entwine, and the future and past may be part of a larger whole. We'll listen to the brain's way of knitting the present, and learn why the now might be more of a story than a single instant. We'll breathe through ideas about entropy, quantum strangeness, and what it might mean if time's an emergent property rather than a base feature of reality. Each revelation will arrive like a slow tide, revealing and concealing in equal measure, always calm, always paced for sleep. If you've been listening with quiet attention, you've already begun the work this documentary asks of you, noticing your own relationship with time. Perhaps right now you feel the length of a breath or the easing of a shoulder. Allow those small sensations to be anchors. Curiosity is a gentle lantern. Keep it lit without gripping it too tightly. Now rest into the thought that your sense of time, the pulse of your day, is both intimate and shared. It is the scaffolding you use to build meaning, and it may also be a map drawn by human hands over a territory broader than we yet understand. In the chapters that follow, we will walk that territory together with careful steps and soft voices. Chapter 2: What Science Says About Time. Now we move gently from our human, felt sense of time into the quiet halls of science. In this chapter we will look at what physics, the careful study of nature, says about time. We will take each idea slowly, with simple images and soft stories to help the mind relax while it learns. No hard words, no rush, just calm curiosity. Begin by imagining a sheet of cloth stretched flat across a table. This cloth is smooth and even. Now, picture drawing a straight line across it with a pencil. We could say that line marks a path. In science, physicists sometimes think of space and time together as a kind of fabric, and the path is the history of something moving through that fabric. Calling space and time a fabric is only a friendly picture, a way to help us feel the shape of things. When we say time is a dimension, we mean it is a direction you can move in, much like forward and backward, or left and right. If space gives us distance, how far one place is from another, time gives us order, how one moment follows another. Think of a movie film strip. Each frame is like a moment. The strip stretches along one direction. In a similar way, some scientists think of moments as points along a line. This idea helps when we try to use math to describe nature. It puts time on the same map as space. Many of us feel that time flows, that there is a river carrying moments from the past into the present and onward to the future. We call this the flow idea. It feels right because we remember the past and expect the future. Yet another scientific idea is the block universe. In this view, all moments, past, present, and future, exist together, like pages in a closed book. You can open the book at any page, but the pages are always there. This view can feel strange at first. If past and future already exist, where does change come from? We will not force an answer now. Instead, picture a landscape where hills and valleys do not move, but a traveller walks along a path through them. The traveller's walk is the story of change, even if the landscape itself is fixed. More than 100 years ago, a quiet and careful man named Albert Einstein changed the way we think about space and time. He showed that space and time are not separate things but part of one woven whole called space-time. His idea tells us two simple, remarkable things. First, motion affects time. If you move very fast, time for you will pass more slowly compared to someone who stays still. Think of two friends. One stays on a quiet shore, the other drifts out on a small boat that moves quickly. When the friend on the boat returns, they may find less time has passed for them than for the friend who stayed ashore. This idea is called time dilation. It is not a trick of the mind. It is a real effect that has been measured with clocks. The faster you move, the more your clock lags behind clocks that stayed put. The effect becomes large only at speeds close to the speed of light, but it is real everywhere. Second, gravity affects time. Big, heavy things, like stars or planets, bend the fabric we spoke of earlier. Near a very heavy object, clocks tick more slowly. To imagine this, think of a soft mattress. Put a heavy ball in the middle and the mattress dips. A marble rolling close to the dip will move differently than a marble rolling on the flat part. The dip changes how objects move. In the same way, mass changes the path that things, including light and time, follow. This bending of space-time is what we feel as gravity. Einstein used small thought stories to explain these ideas. One famous image is a train moving down a track while lightning strikes both ends. A person on the station and a person on the train may disagree about whether the two flashes happened at the same time. That is because the train is moving. What seemed simultaneous to one person was not simultaneous to the other. This shows something quiet but powerful. There is no single, universal now that everyone must agree on. Observers moving in different ways can have different slices of what they call the present. A popular way to feel time dilation is the twin story. Imagine twins who love each other. One stays home, the other takes a very fast spaceship on a long journey and then returns. Because of the way motion and time interact, the travelling twin may find that they age less than the twin who stayed on Earth. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it is a real consequence of the rules Einstein found. The story helps us see that time is not the same for everyone. It can stretch and bend with motion and gravity. Relativity, the theory that comes from Einstein's ideas, hints that there may be no single present shared by all observers. If two people moving differently can slice space-time in different ways, then what one calls now might be part of another person's past or future. This opens the door to the block universe picture, where all moments exist in the big structure. And now is something that depends on where and how you move. Yet not every physicist or philosopher accepts the block picture as the full story. Some prefer to hold on to the sense that the present is special. Others look for deeper ideas that could explain why time seems to flow even if all moments exist. Physics gives tools and strong hints, but interpretation, how we make sense of the math and experiments, still asks for gentle thought. There is room for wonder rather than certainty. These ideas may seem far away from a bedside lamp, but they touch us quietly. The GPS in your phone must account for both motion and gravity when it tells you your position. Without adjusting for the way time runs differently near Earth and in orbit, your map would slowly drift and lose its accuracy. So the science of time is practical as well as deep. It keeps our tools working and shapes how we explore the universe. Imagine two neighbours who tend gardens on opposite sides of a river. One plants flowers that bloom in sunlight, the other grows plants that open at night. Each measures time by the plant's rhythms. Along comes a bridge that lets them walk together and compare their watches. They learn that their ways of measuring fit different needs, both true in their own ways. So it is with physics and human time. They're two maps for living and thinking. One helps us build devices and travel the stars, the other helps us live together, remember, and plan. In our next chapter, we will listen to the quiet mechanics of perception itself, how the brain makes the present, and why the now you feel may be a small stitched-together moment. Later, we will meet entropy and the arrow of time, and we will step into the odd world of quantum physics, where the usual story of time begins to fray. If you stay with me, each new idea will arrive slowly with gentle examples and restful images, so your mind can both learn and relax. Before we close this chapter, let us breathe in and take a gentle summary. Science gives us a map where space and time are woven together. Motion and gravity change the beat of clocks. Different observers can disagree on what now means. And while physics points toward views like the block universe, it does not force one single answer about the deep meaning of time. That mystery will be a quiet thread we follow through many more chapters. As you carry this chapter into your rest, notice the steady beat of your breath. Let it be a small clock that ties you to this moment. You're both in time and perhaps looking at time from the edge of something larger. Chapter 3: The Illusion of the Present Moment. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Notice the tiny gap between one breath and the next. That small space feels like now, simple, immediate, true. Yet beneath that feeling is a quiet trick our mind plays. The present we feel is not a single instant point, but a soft, stitched moment made from many pieces. Our senses do not deliver the world to us all at once. Light must hit the eye, travel as signals, and be moved through layers of the brain before an image appears. Sound must press against the ear, be translated, and then woven with sight. Touch, taste, smell each have their own journeys. These journeys take time, tiny slices of time. Because each sense arrives with its own small delay, the brain must gather these pieces and make them fit. The result is a single, neat experience we call now. It feels immediate because the brain is very good at hiding its work. Think of a painter who makes a moving scene from many small brush strokes. Up close, each stroke is distinct, but step back and you see a whole picture. The brain is like that painter. It takes many small signals, smooths them, and shows you a seamless present. The smooth picture masks the tiny pauses and edits that made it. You can feel this in simple moments. When a flash of lightning splits the sky, you see it and then hear the thunder. The sound arrives later because it travels slower than light. Your mind, however, often places these two events together in your story of the moment. You say, "The lightning and thunder happened," as if they were perfectly tied. The brain has already done the work of making that tie. Scientists who study perception have gently shown that our conscious experience sits a few milliseconds behind the real time of events. That does not mean we live in the past in any scary way. Rather, it means the brain holds a small buffer of recent events while it pieces together a usable view. This buffer gives the world coherence. It also gives you a chance to feel continuity, the sense that one thing flows into the next. There is a useful name people sometimes use for this felt stretch of now: the specious present. It is a small window, not an instant. For most people, it lasts a second or two. Within the window, we weave sounds, sights, and feelings into a short story. A footstep, a word, a glance. If you listen to a melody, you do not hear isolated notes. You hear a phrase. The specious present is what lets you hear phrases in time. Our sense of now also borrows from memory and expectation. Moments that just passed are kept for a little while in short-term memory, and our brain uses them to build continuity. At the same time, the brain is always guessing what will come next. It makes predictions based on patterns, the way the sun usually rises, or the way a friend usually answers a greeting. These predictions are compared with the incoming signals. When the guess and the input match, the world feels smooth. When they do not match, surprise or pause arises, a sudden jerk in the flow of experience. Imagine a violinist playing in a soft hall. the musician senses the slight delay between the finger on the string and the sound that fills the room. The player learns to predict that delay and to move ahead of it, so the music feels graceful. The audience hears music as a continuous river. The skill of the violinist is a kind of partnership with the brain's way of timing. In everyday life, your actions are like that too. You often act on predictions, not only on what has already been fully processed. Some experiments have shown that our sense of causing an action and the action itself can be separated by a small gap. In simple terms, the brain sometimes begins the process of movement before you feel the conscious desire to move. This has been described in a few careful studies. The result is not a loss of meaning or responsibility. Instead, it invites us to think of conscious will as the awareness of an action as it is already forming. Like seeing the shadow of a bird before it lands. You're still you, but the timing is more subtle than it first appears. We can also look at how our sense of now stretches and shrinks with emotion and attention. When you are bored, time may drag, each second heavy and long. When you're absorbed in a good book, hours slip by like quiet waves. In moments of danger, time seems to slow, as if the mind magnifies detail to help you respond. These changes show that time is not just an outside clock. It is tied to what matters to you in the moment. Attention acts like a spotlight, brightening some parts of experience and dimming others. Where the light falls, time feels longer. Dreams and altered states give another gentle clue. In a deep dream, minutes of real time can feel like long journeys. In meditative states, people often report a widened, more present awareness, a sense that moments stretch into calm fullness. These shifts suggest that how we experience time depends a great deal on the way the mind organizes itself. The sense of now can be molded by practice and by the nearness or absence of distraction. The brain must also handle events that happen at different places at the same time, and it must decide whether they belong together. Is the flash and the clap part of the same storm? Did that footstep belong to the person you just saw? The brain solves these puzzles quickly, often without conscious effort. This binding process is the work behind seamless perception. It is another way the present is built, not found. Language shapes the present too. The words we use to talk about time influence how we feel it. Some languages have many ways to mark the past and future. Others speak more in cycles and describe events with respect to seasons or relationships. When language frames time as linear, people may see life as a march from birth to death. When language frames time as cyclical, people may feel more connected to patterns and return. These differences do not change the physical world, but they change the way the mind draws the curtains around the present. There is a quiet worry that can come when we learn all this. If the present is constructed, is reality less real? The answer is gentle. Construction does not mean less true. It means that truth is lived through systems that interpret and shape raw signals into things we can use. A map constructs an image of a land. The map is not the land, but it is not false either. It is a tool that allows action and meaning. The present we feel is like a map. It guides us through life, lets us act, love, learn, and rest. Another softer worry is about free will. If choices begin before we are fully conscious, does that make us less free? Here too, the view is not simple. Even if the brain prepares actions before we feel them, conscious awareness can still influence decisions, reflect on motives, and form plans. Think of a gardener who plans a path before planting, but still adjusts as new seedlings push up. The capacity to reflect and to change direction remains a part of who we are. As this chapter nears its close, imagine a slow river moving past a stone. From one bank, the water appears to flow, From a bird high above, the river is a ribbon across the land. Both views are true. The river's movement is real. So is the larger scene that includes the river's banks and the trees. Similarly, your experience of now is a real part of how you live, even if it is crafted from many small processes. Before we move on, let your body notice a small change. Relax your jaw, soften your eyes. Feel your feet touch the surface beneath you. These small anchors are part of your present. They remind you that the present, however constructed, is also the place where rest and peace begin. When you are ready, know that our next chapter will explore how consciousness does more than feel time. It gives time its meaning. We will consider how memory and imagination weave past and future into a continuous self, and how moments build the story you call your life. For now, hold the gentle thought that your present is a stitched window, lovingly sewn by the mind to help you touch a world that rushes by. Chapter 4: Time and Human Consciousness. As we move from the brain's quiet work of stitching the present, let us now turn our attention to the larger story the mind tells about time. Consciousness is the place where moments become meaning. It is where memories rest, where hopes take shape, and where your life feels like a story rather than a string of separate events. In this chapter, we'll sit with how the mind uses past and future to build a continuous self, why time can stretch or shrink inside us, and whether consciousness might exist beyond ordinary time. We will move slowly, using clear and gentle images, so the ideas land like soft stones on a calm lake. Think of memory as a small, warm room where photographs are kept. Some photos are bright and sharp, the ones you revisit often. Others are faded, seen only when you go looking. Memories do not simply record like a camera. They're rebuilt each time you look at them, joining new feelings and fresh thoughts to old pictures. This rebuilding is why recollection can change over time, and why remembering is also a kind of making. Memory ties the past to who you are now. It gives you a sense of continuity. The child who learned to ride a bike is connected to the person who watches the sunset tonight. But memory is not only backward-looking. The same skill the mind uses to remember is also used to imagine. When you pitch tomorrow, you use pieces of the past, facts, feelings, and patterns to create a likely scene. This ability to travel inwardly to past moments and forward into imagined ones has a soft name: mental time travel. It is how you plan a trip, rehearse a talk, or imagine greeting a friend you have yet to see. Memory and imagination are two sides of the same coin. Together they allow the mind to fold time, bringing together different moments to guide action and feeling. The sense of self grows from these folds. When you tell a story about your life, you pull from memory, mix in hopes, and shape a narrative where you are the thread running through it all. This narrative makes choices meaningful, regrets, triumphs, lessons, and quiet habits. Without memory and anticipation, choices would be small and disconnected. With them, life becomes a garden tended over seasons. There is a gentle magic in how attention colors time. Attention is the mind's lamp. Where it shines, detail becomes clearer and time feels longer. When a moment is new and full of novelty, attention widens and offers the mind more pieces to hold. The first day in a strange city can feel endless because every corner is fresh. As places become familiar, the lamp dims and days fold into each other. This is one reason people often say time speeds up as we age. There are fewer truly new things for the lamp to illuminate, so the days slide together. Emotions also bend time. Joy can make hours feel brief, like sunlight passing quickly through a window. Grief or boredom stretches minutes until they seem to expand. In moments of fear, detail sharpens, the mind holds more information and the moment feels long and heavy. The brain's chemistry nudges how we measure inner time. This interplay between feeling and time is a tender part of what it means to be alive. There are special states where consciousness changes its relation to time. In deep flow, that space when a task absorbs you fully, the sense of self fades and time will often feel altered. Musicians, athletes and artists speak of hours passing like minutes. In deep meditation, some people report a quiet where the usual past and future fall away and only a peaceful present remains. In dreams, time can be strange and elastic. Hours can compress into a few minutes, and long journeys can happen inside a short sleep. These states show how flexible conscious time really is. Let us listen to a small story that illustrates these points. There was once a teacher who kept a jar of small pebbles. Each pebble stood for a memory he wanted to pass on, a kindness, a mistake, a moment of learning. He would place a pebble in the jar each evening, and when the jar grew full, he would sit with his students and tell the stories one by one. In listening, the students felt connected to the teacher's life. The jar became a living archive, and the stories tied past to present, making each pebble more than it was alone. The teacher's jar is like memory and narrative in your mind. Small events collected and told make a continuous life worth following. Sometimes the seams of memory split. In certain illnesses or after accidents, memory can fail or change. When that happens, people can lose the sense that their life is a continuous thread. It can be frightening, but often love and care create new ways to bind moments together. Photos, songs, a gentle routine. These simpler threads show how much of our time is woven by relation and story, not only by internal recollection. We arrive now at a very quiet question. Can consciousness exist outside time? This is a question both old and new. Some spiritual traditions speak of timeless awareness, a calm place where identity and the rush of hours fade away, leaving a wide, still presence. People who have had deep mystical experiences sometimes describe an all-at-once feeling, where the past and future melt into a vast now. Near-death accounts sometimes tell of a life reviewing itself without sequence, where meaning is grasped without the usual sense of time passing. These reports are personal and varied, and they invite wonder rather than proof. Science has its own way of approaching the question. Some scientists and thinkers imagine consciousness as an emergent thing, something that arises from many simple parts working together and that can only exist while those parts move in time. Others speculate that consciousness might be linked to more fundamental aspects of reality that do not depend on ordinary time. These are deep ideas that stretch beyond what we can measure clearly today. For our calming journey, it is enough to hold both possibilities lightly. Consciousness may be a product of time, or it may, in some way, touch something beyond it. Either thought can bring awe, not fear. A gentle note about free will and responsibility falls here also. When we see that the mind prepares actions before awareness arrives, or that deep processes guide choices, it can feel like our sense of freedom is shaky. But consciousness still matters. Reflection, compassion, and the ability to imagine alternate paths allow us to guide our lives. Free will is not a single instant. It is a continuing practice of attention, memory, and choice. You're shaped by past and present, but you're not only shaped, you shape in return. Before we close this chapter, let's practice a small, restful exercise. Breathe in slowly for 4 counts, hold for a gentle 2, and release for 6. As you breathe, let your mind pick a small, kind memory, a warm cup, a quiet laugh, a gentle touch. Hold it like the teacher's pebble, simple and bright. Allow this memory to warm your body and remind you that the story of you is made of many such small, caring moments. In the next chapter, we will move from the mind's craft to a rule that seems to point time in one direction, the arrow of time. We will meet entropy, a quiet measure of disorder, and learn how it shapes the feeling that the past is different from the future. We will walk slowly into the science that links heat, randomness, and why time appears to flow forward. For now, rest with the thought that consciousness both shapes time and is shaped by it. A gentle, living weave of memory, attention, and imagination. Chapter 5. The Arrow of Time. Listen to the soft sound of your breath as you settle deeper into your seat. Tonight we will walk slowly along a path that feels familiar to everyone. The sense that time moves one way, from what has already happened toward what is yet to come. We call this feeling the arrow of time. It points forward. It makes eggs break but not unbreak. Makes ice melt but not form on a warm hand. In this chapter, we will explore why that arrow seems to exist, using calm images and simple ideas so you can hold the thought without strain. Imagine a tidy room. Clothes are folded, books stacked, a cup rests on a coaster. Now picture that same room after a long day. Clothes on the floor, pages open, the cup tipped and spilled. Which state is easier to make by accident? The messy room. The tidy room needs effort and care. This everyday idea, that disorder tends to grow unless we work to stop it, is at the heart of the arrow of time. In science, we give a name to this tendency: entropy. You can think of entropy as a measure of spread outness or messiness. When heat spreads from a hot object into a cold one, or when a scent drifts across a room until it fills the air, entropy increases. The world, left to itself, tends to move from states that are ordered and special towards states that are more even and spread out. This is why a hot cup cools down, why a perfume fills a room, and why stories have a past that is different from their future. Let us use a simple, calm image. A cup of coffee into which you pour cold milk. At first, the milk forms a ribbon, a pattern that curls in the dark. Over a little time, the two mix and the cup becomes a uniform colour. If you stirred consciously, you might see beautiful patterns for a moment, but those patterns fade. The mixing is easy to do. The unmixed state is special and rare. That one-way mixing is a tiny example of the arrow of time at work. Why does this one-way behaviour happen? One way to feel the answer is to think about the number of ways things can be arranged. A tidy room has many fewer ways to be arranged than a messy room. There are only a few ways to place each book just so. There are many, many ways for the books to be scattered across the floor, so most possible arrangements look messy. When things change randomly, they most likely move toward one of the many messy arrangements. That simple idea, when applied to many particles and many possible arrangements, gives rise to the steady push toward higher entropy. This idea explains why broken things stay broken. Consider an egg dropped on the floor. After the drop, the egg is broken and the shell and yolk are spread out. To put the egg back together would require each tiny piece of shell and each drop of yolk to gather in exactly the right way. The number of ways for the pieces to be spread out is enormously larger than the number of ways they could be neatly whole. So without a very careful, unlikely set of motions, the egg does not reassemble. The arrow of time is the sense that nature moves toward the many, not the few. There is a quiet but deep connection between this idea and the world of heat and energy. Heat is motion at a tiny scale. When a hot object touches a cold one, the tiny particles of the hot object calm a little as they pass energy to the cooler ones. Over time, the energy spreads out until temperatures balance. The spread of energy into many parts makes the whole system more even. In this spreading process, entropy goes up. It is a soft, steady law. In ordinary processes, entropy increases or stays the same. Yet there are exceptions in small places. A refrigerator, for example, brings cold to the inside box and keeps warm air outside. That looks like entropy decreasing inside the fridge. The key is that the fridge uses energy from the wall, electricity, and in doing so it increases entropy overall. Local decreases are possible, but they cost energy and create more spread outness somewhere else. Life itself, with its delicate order, is a local decrease in entropy that is paid for by the sun and by energy moving through systems. Life is not a breaking of the law. It is a careful dance that uses flows of energy to build and keep order. If you look deeper into the laws that govern tiny particles, like electrons and atoms, you find something curious. Many of those small rules do not care about time's arrow. They work the same going forward or backward in time. They are time symmetric. That raises a quiet question. If the microscopic laws are time symmetric, how does the large-scale arrow of time appear? One gentle answer rests in the starting condition of the universe. Imagine a game of marbles set on a table. If all marbles begin in a small cluster and you knock them, they spread out across the table. They rarely come back into a tight cluster by themselves. In the same way, if the universe began in a very special low-entropy state, surprisingly ordered compared to what might be expected, then the natural tendency is for entropy to grow as time moves on. Many scientists think the early universe had such a special, low-entropy start. From that beginning, the arrow of time follows naturally. Things move from that special start toward more ordinary, spread-out states. This view is tender but also humbling. It says that the one-way flow we feel may come from a past that was different in a very particular way. It does not answer every question, but it gives a simple way to connect the rules that are time-symmetric at small scales with the one-way behavior we see at large scales. Our minds also read the arrow into life by the way we remember. Memory points backward. You remember breakfast, not the future breakfast you will have tomorrow. Because our memories record the past and not the future, our experience of time has a direction. This link between memory and entropy is close. The formation of records, like footprints, photos, or written notes, tends to increase entropy. When you write in a journal, energy flows and heat is produced at a tiny level. The act of recording a moment ties the past to a stable trace. This trace is why the past feels fixed and the future feels open. There are some playful ways scientists and thinkers imagine how the arrow could change. In small systems with just a few parts, entropy can sometimes fall briefly by chance. But these are like the rare moment when a few scattered coins accidentally land in a neat line on a table, possible but extremely unlikely. On larger scales with many parts, such chance decreases become vanishingly rare. Think now of a calm story. An old clock in a quiet house keeps steady time. The clock's owner winds it each evening to keep the gears moving in order. One night the clock stops and the house falls quiet. The next day a neighbour brings a new set of batteries and the clock ticks again, but the small marks made by the stopped hands remain on the dust. The marks are records of a past state. They cannot be erased without effort. The clock's motion and the marks it leaves are a small mirror of how the arrow of time makes the past different from the future. Before this chapter ends, let us breathe slowly and think of a gentle exercise. Picture a small pile of fallen autumn leaves. Over time, the wind scatters them across the path. Imagine gathering them back by hand. You can do it, but the effort is real. It takes attention and energy. In life, building order where disorder tends to grow is possible, but it asks work and care. Let this thought hold you softly. That effort, whether in tending a garden or in forming a habit, is how we make meaning inside an arrow that points forward. In the next chapter, we will step into a world where ordinary ideas about time begin to fray, the tiny quantum realm. There we will meet particles that seem to be in many places at once, and touch ideas that suggest time may be less fixed than we thought. If you stay with me, we will move slowly through that strangeness with calm curiosity. Chapter 6: Quantum Physics and the Death of Time. Sit back and breathe gently. In this chapter, we'll visit the smallest parts of nature, the strange world of atoms, electrons, and light, and we'll do so slowly with quiet images to guide us. The laws that rule the tiny world do not look like the ones we meet in daily life. They are odd and poetic, and they whisper that time may not be as solid as we think. We will meet ideas called superposition and entanglement. We will listen to what happens when we look at things, and we'll touch on the thought that time itself might appear from something deeper. Begin with a calm picture. Imagine a coin that, until you look at it, is not simply heads or tails, but is somehow both at once. Only when you look does it settle into one face. In the real world of tiny particles, something like this happens. Scientists call the both-at-once state a superposition. An electron can be in many possible places or states at the same time until it is measured. This is not because of mystery alone. Experiments show patterns that match this strange behavior again and again. One of the simplest and most gentle experiments to think about is the double slit. Imagine a calm pond with two small gaps in a wall. Tossing many small stones through one gap makes a tidy splash behind that gap. Tossing many stones through the other gap makes a splash behind the second. But when you let single, tiny particles pass through both gaps without watching which gap they use, a delicate pattern of many ripples appears, as if each particle went through both gaps and interfered with itself. If you watch to see which gap the particle chose, the interference disappears and the pattern becomes simple. The act of watching, the act of measurement, changes the result. This tells us that the tiny world responds to being seen in a way we do not see in our daily life. Another quiet surprise is entanglement. Picture two birds that sing in perfect harmony no matter how far apart they fly. In the quantum world, two particles can be linked so that the state of one is tied to the state of the other, even if they are separated by great distances. Measure one, and the other seems to know the result instantly. This was so strange that Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Later experiments show that the pairing is real and not an illusion. Entanglement suggests that at the deep level, parts of the world can be connected in ways that do not fit the ordinary idea of things sitting in space and waiting for local cause and effect. These features raise a quiet question about time. In many descriptions of quantum systems, the rules that tell how possibilities hang together do not need a simple marching clock. The math that describes the whole universe at once sometimes doesn't show a clear ticking time. Some physicists who study the cosmos and the tiniest pieces have noticed a puzzle called the problem of time. When they try to write a full rule book that includes both gravity and quantum ideas, time can seem to vanish from the main equation. It is like writing a story where the page numbers are missing, and yet the words still form sentences that make sense together. One way to feel this is to imagine a music box that plays a tune. The tune seems to move from note to note. Now imagine a record of the whole tune written down all at once on a long sheet. The record shows the whole song, but it does not itself play, it simply holds the notes. Some deep equations in physics look more like the long sheet than the playing music. They show the whole set of possibilities together. From that view, the idea of a single moving now is not present. Instead, there is a rich structure holding all moments. Does this mean time dies inside quantum physics? Not necessarily. Many scientists think time is still real, but that it might come from relationships between things, rather than from an outside clock. Think of a crowd where people clap together. The rhythm you hear is not produced by a single metronome. It emerges from the people listening and responding to one another. In similar fashion, time might emerge from many tiny relations between parts of the universe. Where parts change together in ordered ways, we feel the beat of time. A key idea that helps bridge the tiny and the large is decoherence. This word describes how quantum possibilities become the definite world we see. When a small system interacts with its environment, with air, light, or other particles, the beautiful superposition patterns are lost and the system appears to pick a particular state. The river of many possibilities becomes a single flow we can walk through. Decoherence explains why microscopic oddness does not usually show up in our daily lives. It also shows how the solid, arrow-like time we feel can arise from the foggy, many-path world of quantum possibilities. There are different ways to think about how measurement and observation act. Some people imagine that when a measurement happens, the world suddenly jumps from many possibilities into one. Others picture that all possibilities continue in separate branches, each a true path, and we find ourselves in just one branch. This is the many worlds idea. Both ways are attempts to explain the same small facts, that quantum systems behave like waves of possibility, and that our experience is of a single outcome. Each view treats time a little differently, and none is yet the final answer. When thinkers try to combine quantum ideas with gravity, the force that shapes stars and bends light, they meet stronger puzzles. Gravity treats space and time as a unified, flexible fabric. Quantum rules speak about probabilities and superpositions. Bringing them together sometimes leads to equations that do not show time as a simple variable. Some researchers write equations that look like a frozen picture of all possibilities. Then they ask, where does change come from? One idea is that change comes from entanglement, and from reading one part of the picture relative to another. If one part acts as a clock, the rest can change with respect to it. Time in that sense is relational, is not a master ticking alone, but a measure that arises when one part of the universe is compared with another. Another calm idea is that time could be made of many small, discrete steps, like the frames of a film. At human speeds, these steps would be so tiny we never notice them. Or perhaps time is continuous, but built from a deeper web of relations that look like space and matter when they are large. These thoughts are gentle guesses, not settled facts. The tiny world keeps its secrets, and scientists are patient listeners. The quantum world also hints at timelessness in another sense. Sometimes experiments look like cause and effect can be fuzzy, or that effects can be correlated without a clear chain of cause running from past to future. This does not mean you can send a message to your past or change what happened. The safe rule remains: no useful signal travels backward in time in the ways we know. The strange correlations of entanglement let things be linked, but they do not let us change history. The rules preserve a kind of peaceful order, even amid the strangeness. For our calm purposes, one of the most soothing conclusions is this: quantum oddness does not mean chaos at the scale of life. Instead, it suggests that the deep ground of things is richer and subtler than the steady clock we use. Time, as you feel it, is a reliable friend for living. But beneath that friend may lie a broader, quieter landscape, where the familiar beat of seconds is not the primary feature. The tiny world invites us to imagine time as an emergent rhythm, not the only possible way the universe can be. Before this chapter closes, let us hold a small image. Picture a forest seen from high above. From the air, rivers and paths weave, and the forest looks like a pattern. Close to the ground, leaves flutter in ways the aerial view cannot show. The forest has many levels of time. The slow growth of trunks, the daily opening of flowers, the instant flight of an insect. Quantum ideas are like the tiny motions of the leaves, subtle and rich. Classical time, the time of clocks and calendars, is like the patterns seen from above. Both views are part of one world. In the next chapter, we will move from the science back to thinking, to the old and steady questions philosophers have asked. We will explore whether time is an objective part of the world or something we bring to experience. We will look at different views and at what they imply for choice and meaning. For now, rest with the thought that the small world suggests time may not be the whole story, but it also gives us many ways to feel safe inside the river of moments. Chapter 7. The Philosophy of Time. There is a long, quiet room in human thought where people have sat for thousands of years and whispered about time. In this chapter, we will enter that room slowly and listen to different ideas people have had. We will keep our words soft and our pace easy. We will meet a few named thinkers, but mostly we will meet simple questions. Is time something that exists by itself, or is it made by minds? Do all moments exist together, or does the future not yet exist? Each idea is a gentle lamp that shows one part of the path. None need frighten you. Let curiosity be your companion. One of the oldest ways to think about time is to ask whether only the present is real. This idea is called presentism. It says that the past is gone and the future is not here yet. Only the now is truly alive. Presentism fits the way many people feel. Memory holds what was, plans point to what will be, and the present is the only place we can act. The idea is simple and close to daily life. It gives weight to choice. The present is where we steer the ship. Another idea is that all moments, past, present, future, exist equally. This is often called eternalism, or the block universe picture. Imagine a long, still book that contains every page of a life. From this view, the past and future are like pages already written. Each moment is as real as any other. The difference between them is like the difference between two places on a map. This idea can feel strange because it seems to reduce the specialness of now. But it also gives a calm image. The whole story is laid out, and what we call change is the way we move through the pages. Between these two, thinkers have offered a softer middle way called the growing block view. In this picture, the past and present are real, but the future has not yet been added. The universe grows like a book with new pages added at the edge. The past stays there, fixed, while the present is the newest page and the future waits to be written. This view keeps some of the weight of the present, while also allowing a fixed history. These ideas are not just words, they shape how we think about choice, meaning and responsibility. If only the present is real, then the future is open, and our decisions truly create what comes next. If all moments already exist, questions arise about whether our feeling of making choices is an illusion. If the past is fixed and the future already there, what is it to choose? These are deep puzzles. They do not have single answers, and different answers can feel right to different people. For a calm mind, it is enough to hold them gently and see what questions they raise in your own life. Long ago, people like Aristotle suggested that time is tied to change and motion. If nothing changes, time has no meaning. Later, philosophers like Kant said that time might be part of the way our minds organize experience, a kind of frame that makes experience possible. Kant thought that space and time are forms we use to make sense of the world, not things we discover outside. These old ideas have shaped many later thoughts. They remind us that some part of time might be a tool of the mind. Other thinkers, more recent, have argued that time is a real feature of the world, like space. If time is like space, then the past and future could be places we in some sense are as much as the present. This view fits with the block universe idea from physics. Different arguments come from many directions, some from science, some from the feeling of making choices, some from how language works. The variety of views is a gift. It lets us explore many options without being forced into one story. Let us try a small thought experiment, done slowly. Imagine a long road that runs from a mountain village to the sea. You stand at a small bridge and notice footprints in the dust. You can see where people have walked before you. That is the past. Far down the road, you see a light that moves slowly toward the shore. That could be the future. Now imagine that the whole road, from mountain to sea, was already made and laid out before you were born. Walking the road would be like moving through a story someone already placed along the path. If the whole road existed already, would your steps matter? The road is a map. Your steps are what create experience. Different ways of answering this thought lead to different feelings about choice. The thought experiment is not a test with right or wrong. It is a gentle way to see what each picture makes you feel. A calm worry often rises in these talks. If the future is fixed, can we still have free will? The answers are many. Some people say that our choices are real, even if the future is fixed, because what matters is the reasons and feelings we have when we decide. Others say that fixed futures make responsibility hard to hold. Still others find ways to redefine freedom to fit each picture. For our night journey, we can relax with this gentle view. Whether or not the future is fixed, the feeling of choosing, reflecting and caring shapes how we live now. The weight of meaning comes from caring, not only from metaphysical facts. Philosophers also worry about how language and thought shape time. Some languages line up events left to right, some speak of time as ahead or behind, and some use up-down metaphors. These differences change how people think about causation and memory. The simple fact that language frames time reminds us that part of what we say about time is shaped by the tools we use to talk. Words are nets that catch some fish and let others slip away. There is a gentle argument about cause and effect called the problem of becoming. If the future already exists, what becomes of the act of becoming? One way to think of becoming is that it is about adding new information. Even if the future exists in a block, beings like you still gain new knowledge as you move along. Each new fact you learn changes your inner world, and that change is real to you. So even in a block view, becoming can be an inner process of gaining perspective. Many thinkers have also used morality to test ideas of time. If someone could see the future, would that knowledge remove the value of action? If we could know a life's path ahead, the mystery of choice might fade. Yet often the moral value of action comes from the way we relate to others, the care we bring, and the effort we make. Those things do not vanish simply because a map exists somewhere. The lived reality of kindness and responsibility remains, because it is felt and practiced in the present. Before this chapter closes, let us sit with a small practice. Take a slow breath in and let it out. Think of a small choice you made today, perhaps what you wore or what you ate. Notice the near certainty you felt in the moment, the small reasons that guided you. Now imagine a different choice. See how your life would have shifted a little. These gentle reflections show that choices weave the fabric of your days, no matter how large the metaphysical backdrop may be. In the next chapter, we will look closely at how humans have built systems to measure and tame time. Calendars, clocks, rituals, and languages. We will travel through different cultures and see how time has been named and shaped by many hands. For now, rest with the thought that philosophy gives many lamps to look at time by. Each lamp shows a different part of the path. None takes away the quiet importance of this moment, where you listen and breathe and feel the soft passing of time within your own body. Chapter 8. The Human Construct Argument. Think of time as a tool that people have shaped to help life run more smoothly. In this chapter, we'll walk slowly through the ways humans have invented systems to measure, divide, and use time. We will look at clocks, calendars, languages, rituals, and customs. We will notice how different peoples have made different rules, and how those rules change the way life feels. All of this is gentle work, people making meaning so they can live together. Let us begin with a soft image. Imagine a small village where everyone wakes when the sun warms the east side of the hill. People plant, cook, and rest with the light. No clock chimes, but life moves in steady patterns. Now imagine a busy port where ships arrive from many lands. Sailors need to meet at set hours to exchange goods. Someone brings a brass clock into the port and sets a time for markets. The clock makes it easier to plan with strangers. This simple change, making a public measure of time, is how many of our systems began, tools to help people coordinate. Long before glowing screens and precise watches, people found ways to mark long cycles. Farmers watched the moon, the stars, and the sun. They noticed patterns, seasons that repeat, rains that come and go, the migration of birds. These cycles helped them plant and harvest. Over time, different groups built calendars that matched the patterns they cared about. Some calendars followed the moon's phases, others followed the sun's path through the year. Some mixed both. People learned that a single system would not fit every place or need. So many systems arose to fit local life. Clocks came later. Early clocks used the sun's shadow on a stone, or water flowing slowly from one bowl to another. Then came gears and pendulums that kept a steadier beat. With better clocks, societies could set meeting times, run trains, and keep records. When factories grew during the age of industry, the steady beat of clock time shaped the workday. Bells and whistles began to call people to work, to break, and to finish. Time became a tool for organizing shared tasks. It made large groups of people move with the same rhythm. Language shaped these rhythms. Some tongues have many ways to speak about future events. Others speak more easily about what repeats or returns. When a language places emphasis on future plans, people may think and behave differently than in a language that talks more about cycles or present states. The words we use around time, early, soon, later, forever, are small tools that shape how we feel about what lies ahead and what has passed. Religion and ritual also shaped time. Many faiths mark the day with moments of prayer or rest. Weekly rituals give life a steady beat. Annual holidays anchor memory and celebrate past stories. Rituals create a shared calendar of meaning, and they help groups remember what matters to them. These rhythms offer comfort, a reliable pattern that brings people together again and again. When societies grew larger and more connected, new needs arose. Trains that crossed long distances pushed people to agree on a shared time across wide lands. Later, the world moved into time zones so that clocks could mean roughly the same thing across whole regions. In our modern world, the pace of business and travel made precise time very important. Work schedules, school bells, broadcast times, and sport events all rely on a shared clock. This shared clock is a human promise. If we all follow it, we can meet, trade, and build together. Yet people in different places still use different ideas of time. Some cultures emphasize a circular view. Life moves in cycles and returns. Others highlight a straight line from past to future. Some places put family and relationship time above strict schedules, while others prize punctuality and timetables. These differences are not mistakes. They're choices that fit different ways of living. The variety shows that time can be built to match what people value most. There is also the quiet way language shapes inner time. When we speak of life as a race or a line, it nudges us toward hurry. When we speak of life as a garden or a season, it invites patience. Metaphors matter because they shape habit. If you think of time as a resource to be spent, you may count and measure every minute. If you think of time as a place to rest in, you may slow down and savor small moments. Neither view is absolutely right. Both shape how life feels. Modern life added new twists. The idea that time is money made time into a kind of currency. People sell labor by the hour, measure productivity by minutes, and schedule tasks tightly. This brings efficiency but also pressure. Some people feel that their time is always claimed by work, messages, or responsibilities. The result can be time poverty, the feeling that there is not enough free time to rest, to think, or to be with loved ones. In this sense, human-made time can be kind and useful, but it can also create stress if we let it. Technology brought clocks into every pocket and on every screen. Now we have precise time down to parts of a second. We also have constant reminders, alarms, notifications, and meetings. The steady ping can fragment the day. For many, the modern shape of time feels chopped into tasks, and moments of quiet become rare. But the same tools also let people connect across continents, plan together, and meet at new hours that once would have been impossible. The tools change the shape of daily life. The choice of how to use them remains ours. Humans also designed rules to change natural time. Some places set a new rule each spring and fall to make better use of daylight. Others organize work weeks and weekends to give people a shared rest. These rules are not found in nature, they are choices we make to fit our lives. Because they are choices, they can be changed. People debate them, vote on them, and sometimes undo them. That debate is part of how human time is alive, shaped by people who care about how their days feel. Across all these systems, we can see one gentle truth. Human time is a tool we made, and like any tool, it can help or harm. Clocks and calendars allow us to build cities, to trade, to care for strangers. They let us meet for love and memory. But they can also rush us, split our attention, and make us forget to breathe. The wisdom is in choosing how to live with the tools we have. As you listen, you might notice where your own life follows a crafted clock or a softer rhythm. Maybe you feel the pull of a schedule, the comfort of a weekly ritual, or the quiet of a natural pace. Take a slow breath and notice which rhythm feels kinder. You might give yourself a small permission to keep the kind rhythm for a while. In the next chapter, we will explore how time feels inside the mind, why it seems to move faster as we grow older, how emotions stretch and shrink moments, and why dreams and deep focus change our inner clock. For now, rest with the thought that much of what we call time is a human creation, shaped by need, habit, language, and choice. That means we can also shape it back gently in the ways that help us live well. Chapter 9. The Psychological Experience of Time. There is a quiet rhythm inside each of us that shapes how time feels. In this chapter, we will sit with that inner rhythm and notice the many gentle ways the mind and body bend time. We will stay slow and soft, and we will use simple images so each idea can settle like a warm stone in your hands. If you ask someone why a year felt long when they were a child but now seems to rush by, they might shrug and say, "I don't know." There's a simple, kind answer behind that shrug. When you're young, a single year is a big piece of all the time you've known. Each birthday is a large step forward. As you grow older, a year becomes a smaller part of the whole life you remember. Because each year is a smaller slice, it feels shorter. Imagine a loaf of bread. At 5 years old, one slice is a large piece. At 50, one slice is a small taste. The brain notices those sizes and the feeling of time changes. Another part of this change is novelty. New things fill the mind with many small events. The first day at a new school is full of fresh faces, new routes, strange smells, and new rules. Each new detail becomes a memory. When we later look back, that period seems long because it holds many stored moments. If days are routine and look like each other, memory stores fewer standout moments, and whole months can blur together. To feel time more slowly, invite novelty, try a new route, learn a small skill, or visit a different place. Newness fills life with notes, and the book of memory grows thicker. Attention is another quiet artist of time. Where you point your attention, time seems to stretch. If you watch a slow flame, minutes may feel long. If your attention is split between many things, time can feel chopped and quick. Multitasking frays experience into small pieces that do not become strong memories. When you focus on one thing with calm curiosity, a moment becomes rich. That is why time in nature or during a quiet hobby often feels fuller and longer. Emotions paint time with colour. Joy often makes time fly. When you laugh with a friend, an hour may vanish like mist. Fear and grief lengthen moments, making them heavy and slow. Anxiety can make minutes feel endless because the mind scans for danger and notices every small sign. This is a natural response built to keep us safe, but it makes the inside clock feel different. Gentle breathing, soft attention, and small acts of care can ease the lengthening created by strong emotion. The brain's chemistry also nudges time. Chemicals like dopamine help us notice reward and novelty. When their pattern shifts, the pacing of experience changes. That is one reason why some drugs or some illnesses change time feeling. Some medical conditions alter how the brain keeps track of events, and some medications change the pace of inner experience. If you ever notice a big shift in how time feels to you, it can help to speak softly with someone you trust or with a health worker, because the body and mind are linked. There are special states where time seems to change in surprising ways. In flow, when a task fully absorbs you, the sense of self and time can fall away. Hours can disappear like a tide. Many artists and athletes notice this quiet state, a place where action and attention align and time becomes a smooth current. Flow is not empty, it is full in a different way. It gives the mind a rest from worrying about minutes and allows deep work and deep joy. Dreams fold time oddly. A brief nap can contain a whole story where events have strange order, like scenes in a film with scenes from different days. In dreams, the mind plays with memory and imagination without the usual checks. That is why a short night can feel long in memory, or why a dream can seem to tell a whole life in a few minutes. Meditation and simple presence practices can also reshape time. When you sit and follow the breath, you allow attention to widen and slow. Small sensations become anchors. Regular practice can lengthen the felt now, making ordinary minutes feel more like a restful ocean than a rushing river. Many people find that keeping a short daily practice helps them notice time more kindly and fully. There are gentle stories that show these ideas. A woman once spent a year taking pictures of one small view outside her window. At first, the scene felt the same each day: a street, a tree, the sky. Over the months, she noticed small changes: a patch of light that shifted, a bird that nested, the slow change of leaves. When she later looked at the hundreds of photos, that year felt long and full because each day had been marked. Her habit of noticing turned ordinary days into a rich memory. This is a small trick you can use. Record tiny things, and the days will hold more. A few practical ways to shape your inner time can be soothing. Try an afternoon with one focused task, perhaps drawing, cooking slowly, or walking without a phone. Notice the small details, the weight of a spoon, the smell of bread, the sound of a footstep. If you want to make the week feel more expanded, break it with a small new event, a visit, a new song, a different route. Keep a short notebook of small, pleasant moments. When you look back, the list will widen your sense of how much you lived. Time can also feel strange after strong events. Trauma and danger can cause time to slow, making moments feel very long and detailed. Some people who survive sudden accidents remember each small detail. This is the brain holding on tightly to make sense of what was important. If you or someone you know carries such memories, kindness, steady routines, and gentle help can allow time to heal. Professional care can be a compassionate path to mend the sense of time after difficult events. As we age, there are both losses and gains in the way we feel time. The years may feel faster, but life often gains depth of meaning. Memories accumulate like pebbles in a jar, and there is a quiet pleasure in holding them. Many older people say that time seems to pass swiftly, and yet small daily rituals, tea, a walk, a story, can slow it down and make each day bright. A soft way to finish this chapter is with a small practice you can do now. Close your eyes if you like. Take 3 slow breaths. On the first, feel the air move into your chest. On the second, notice one small, pleasant memory. A warm light, a kind word, a still morning. On the third, imagine one small new thing you might do this week. A short walk in a different park, a new recipe, a page from a book you have not read. Keep these 3 things close for a little while. They are seeds that will change how time feels in your days. Before we move on, a quiet invitation. Later we will explore ideas about what may happen to time after death, and how different traditions describe timeless states. That chapter will be gentle and full of stories. If you stay with me, we will go there slowly, with care. Chapter 10. Time Beyond Death. Now let us gently turn our thoughts to a subject that has fascinated humans for centuries, and yet we will approach it with calm and softness. We will explore what time might mean beyond the limits of life, and whether consciousness continues to experience it, or if there is a kind of timelessness that awaits. This chapter will not be frightening. Instead, it will be like a quiet walk along a river that stretches beyond what we can see, inviting us to imagine with care and curiosity. Humans have long wondered what happens to time when the body stops. When we die, the physical mechanisms that measure time, our heartbeat, our metabolism, our brain activity, all cease. In that sense, the clocks that live within us and the clocks we use in society no longer have meaning for the body. But the question of consciousness lingers. Does the mind experience anything after death? Or is the cessation of life also the cessation of time itself? Many cultures and spiritual traditions imagine a timeless consciousness after death. Some speak of an eternal present, where all moments exist together, and the mind rests without past regrets or future concerns. Imagine lying in a vast field at night, where the stars above stretch endlessly, and the air feels calm and unchanging. In some traditions, this is the kind of timelessness that consciousness enters, a state without before or after, without ticking seconds or passing hours. Near-death experiences provide another window into this question. Some people who have been close to death report floating outside their bodies, seeing events from multiple perspectives, or feeling an overwhelming sense of peace. Time in these accounts seems to lose its usual meaning. Moments stretch and collapse simultaneously. Some describe seeing their lives as a whole, past and present together, in a way that feels both complete and gentle. Scientists are cautious about these experiences, suggesting that brain chemistry and perception might explain them. But whether the cause is physical or something beyond, the experience points to a sense of timelessness that is peaceful and expansive. Eternity is often imagined as a long stretch, like a road without end. But in many spiritual and mystical teachings, eternity is not measured by moments, hours, or years. It is the absence of measurement. Time ceases to divide existence into pieces. The present is all there is. This is different from imagining forever. Forever implies an infinite line of moments. Timelessness is not a line at all. It is more like the sky itself, vast, continuous, and undivided. Some scientists and philosophers have asked whether consciousness itself could exist without time. If the mind relies on memory and anticipation to structure experience, then without a body and brain, the usual flow of consciousness might disappear. Others suggest that consciousness could exist in a more fundamental way, unbound by physical clocks. Perhaps the feeling of being does not require a before and after. Perhaps it is a constant awareness that simply is. Mysticism often speaks of union with a larger whole, where the self dissolves and time is no longer felt. In this state, fear, longing and desire may vanish because they are tied to the flow of events. Only a quiet awareness remains. Imagine drifting on a calm, endless sea under a night sky, feeling part of something vast. Time as we know it does not reach here. This image is not proof, but it is a soft way to imagine what timeless consciousness might feel like. Religions give us many stories about life after death that explore time differently. Some describe cycles of rebirth, where life flows from one form to another, giving a sense of time in a broader, repeating pattern. Others describe a place where all moments are present at once, or where the soul exists in eternal light. Each tradition uses metaphor and story to help humans understand what cannot easily be measured or observed. These stories serve as gentle maps for the mind to contemplate the unknown. Science intersects with this question in its own way. Cosmologists and physicists consider whether time itself is fundamental or emergent. If time emerges from the physical universe, then the end of the body, and even the collapse of the universe, might mean the end of time as we perceive it. Yet some theories suggest a deeper level of reality, where change and duration are not needed. In this view, the universe may exist as a timeless structure, and consciousness, if it can exist beyond the body, might also inhabit that structure. Many people find comfort in the idea that death does not necessarily mean the end of experience, even if we cannot fully describe it. The mind can imagine timelessness as a soft, continuous space where past and future dissolve. It can imagine consciousness as a gentle presence, like a candle glowing steadily in an endless night. Even if these are only images, they help the heart rest, much like closing your eyes on a calm evening and feeling the world slow down. Here is a story to help settle this chapter. A monk once spent decades meditating on the nature of death and time. One night, lying under the stars, he realized that life and death were like waves on the ocean. The waves rise, fall and change, but the water itself remains. Past and future, birth and passing, all ripple on the same water. In that understanding, he felt no fear. Time had softened into presence, flowing quietly through all things. The waves continued, but he rested in the water itself. This story is a gentle reminder. Timelessness may not be an end, but a different way of being. As we finish this chapter, take a soft breath. Imagine the moments of your life stretching gently behind and ahead, and feel them dissolve into a calm, open space. There is no hurry, no ticking, only a quiet awareness that exists in this moment. That awareness is yours to rest in, peaceful and full. In the next chapter, we will explore whether reality itself can exist without time, and what it might mean for the universe if time is not fundamental. For now, settle into the calm reflection of timeless possibility. Chapter 11. Does reality exist without time? Now, let us take a deep, calm breath and approach one of the most profound questions. Can reality itself exist without time? This chapter will invite you to imagine the universe in a gentle, soft way, exploring what it might be like if change, past, present, and future did not exist as we usually think of them. We will move slowly, letting each idea settle, like watching fog drift over a quiet lake. We're used to thinking of reality as a sequence of events. Morning comes, the sun rises, leaves fall, waves crash, hearts beat. Time seems woven into everything. But scientists and philosophers ask, is time truly a fundamental part of the universe, or is it something that emerges from deeper structures? In other words, could the universe exist without ticking clocks, without a flowing now, without the sense of before and after? To imagine this, start with a quiet picture, a vast, still ocean under a night sky. There are no waves, no wind, no ripples, nothing changes, yet the ocean exists. In this stillness, there is space, depth, and substance. If time is like the waves that move on the ocean, then this image is a universe without time. It is hard to picture because every day we live in a world that moves, but just because our experience is bound by flow does not mean the underlying reality must be. In physics, some theories suggest that time may indeed emerge from more fundamental elements. Certain approaches to quantum gravity propose that at the deepest level, the universe is a timeless structure. Space, energy, matter, and the laws that govern them exist, but the familiar arrow of time, the feeling of cause leading to effect, is a higher level pattern that appears only when the universe is viewed at a larger scale. Think of it as a painting. Up close, you see brushstrokes and textures, each frozen in place. Step back, and a flowing scene emerges. Time could be like the flowing image, apparent, but not fundamental. Even in everyday life, we notice hints of this idea. At very small scales, like particles in quantum physics, events can appear uncertain, or even exist in multiple states at once. Cause and effect can blur. Entanglement links particles instantly across distances. In this tiny world, the usual flow of seconds and minutes seems to fade. These phenomena suggest that time, as we feel it, may be a useful description for large objects, but not for the universe at its most basic level. Philosophers call this a timeless universe hypothesis. In such a universe, reality exists, but there's no universal ticking clock. Events, as we understand them, are simply correlations between parts of the universe. A particle interacts with another, a star shines, a planet moves. But there is no absolute before or after at the deepest level. From the outside, the entire structure is laid out like a vast, still tapestry. From within, beings like us perceive movement and change because our minds are built to interpret correlations as sequences. This raises fascinating questions about existence itself. If time is emergent, what does it mean to exist? Can there be change without time? Perhaps existence is simply the arrangement of matter and energy interacting in ways that our brains interpret as flow. Consciousness might arise as a process that stitches these interactions into a narrative, giving us the feeling of a past, a present, and a future. In that sense, time is a story the mind tells itself about reality, not the fabric of reality itself. There are gentle ways to explore this in your imagination. Close your eyes and picture a painting that stretches infinitely in all directions. Each point in the painting exists fully, complete in itself. There are colours, shapes and textures, but no order of events. Now imagine stepping into this painting. Your mind perceives a path because it looks for patterns. Your consciousness creates a sequence, a flowing story, even though the underlying universe does not move. This exercise shows that the feeling of time may come from how we perceive reality, not from reality itself. Some thinkers also imagine that a timeless universe could reshape our understanding of cause and effect, of freedom, and of meaning. If all events exist equally, then our choices may be seen as part of a larger structure. Yet within that structure, the experience of making a choice, feeling anticipation, or remembering the past remains real to us. Even if time is not fundamental, the narrative we live gives life texture, significance, and emotion. This is a comforting thought. We do not need absolute time for our lived experience to matter. Mystical traditions, in their own language, often describe a similar sense of reality beyond time. In meditation, some people experience moments where past and future vanish, and only awareness remains. These experiences mirror what modern science hints at, a universe in which time is not essential for existence. The feeling is calm, complete, and free. The mind rests in what is, without concern for when it is. A soft story can help this idea settle. A sage once imagined the universe as a giant library. Every book, every page, every letter exists at once, perfectly arranged. There is no reading order. The books simply are. If a reader opens a book, they create a story in their mind. If they close it, the story dissolves into potential. Reality itself is the library. Time is the act of reading. The sage smiled, understanding that life's movement is in perception and that timelessness is the quiet backdrop for everything. As we finish this chapter, take a moment to breathe deeply. Let your mind drift to the vast tapestry of existence, where every moment is already there and your consciousness gently moves along its threads. Notice how soft and expansive it feels to imagine reality without the strict boundaries of before and after. Rest in the calm understanding that whether time is real or emergent, the experience of life, awareness, and choice continues in this moment. In the next chapter, we'll gently return to our minds and explore how consciousness itself may relate to time, how memory, anticipation, and the sense of self weave the experience of temporal flow. For now, allow yourself to linger in the quiet vastness of timeless possibility. Chapter 12. Consciousness and the Flow of Time. Now, let us turn our attention inward, to the quiet space of the mind where the sense of time is born. In this chapter, we will explore how consciousness gives rise to the feeling of past, present, and future, and how our inner world shapes the flow of experience. We will move slowly, like walking through a gentle forest at dusk, noticing each detail with care. Consciousness is the lens through which we experience time. Without awareness, the passage of minutes, hours, or years would be meaningless. Even in a timeless universe, consciousness interprets events as a flow, stitching moments into a continuous story. Our minds are like weavers, linking memories and anticipations into a tapestry we call life. This weaving creates the sense of a present moment, a place where we act, feel, and perceive. Memory is one of the primary threads in this tapestry. Every sensation, every thought, every tiny event can be stored in the mind. Memory allows us to look backward and recall what was. When we remember a warm morning, a kind word, or a gentle touch, the past becomes alive again in our minds. This revival is not the past itself, but a construction. It is colored by perception, emotion, and interpretation. In this way, The past exists for consciousness, even if the universe itself is timeless or structured differently. Anticipation works similarly. Just as memory brings the past into awareness, anticipation carries the future into the present. Our brains simulate possibilities, imagine outcomes, and plan actions. This mental projection gives us a sense of direction, a forward motion that feels like time passing. Without anticipation, the present might feel flat, disconnected and isolated. Together, memory and anticipation create a gentle tension that shapes the flow of life, giving our experience depth and meaning. Perception of the present is subtler than it seems. Our brain processes information with a slight delay. Even the experience of seeing or hearing happens milliseconds after events occur. The now, we feel, is already a small reconstruction. Consciousness stitches together sensory input, memory and expectation to create a seamless sense of present. It is a soft illusion, but a crucial one, allowing us to act effectively in the world. The present is where life is lived, even if it is never truly instantaneous. Emotion colours the passage of time. Joy, fear, sadness, curiosity, all of these alter how we perceive duration. Moments of fear may stretch endlessly, while hours of deep joy can vanish in an instant. The mind, responding to internal states, bends time. This is why two people can experience the same event and feel it differently. Their consciousness is shaping time from within, creating a subjective rhythm. There are special states of consciousness where the usual flow of time changes dramatically. Meditation, deep focus, or the experience of flow can make time seem to slow, stop, or expand. In these states, the mind is fully present, deeply attentive, and detached from the habitual counting of moments. Time feels elastic, and each second carries more weight and clarity. These experiences are windows into how flexible the mind's sense of temporal order can be. Even sleep and dreams offer lessons about consciousness and time. In dreams, events can unfold with strange logic, skipping, looping, or collapsing moments. A single dream may seem to contain hours or even years of life in just a few minutes of sleep. Here again, consciousness constructs its own temporal framework, independent of physical clocks. Time in the mind can be fluid, malleable, and astonishingly creative. Our sense of identity is deeply entwined with time. We define ourselves by our memories, choices, and hopes. The self is like a river flowing through a series of moments, anchored by recollection and expectation. This river gives continuity to our lives, allowing us to feel that we are the same being from one day to the next. Without a sense of temporal continuity, our experience of self would dissolve, leaving awareness without narrative. Stories help illustrate these ideas. Imagine a child who collects leaves each autumn. Each day they notice small changes: a new colour, a curled edge, a dropped acorn. The child stores these observations in memory, imagines how next week might look, and experiences the present as a unique, unfolding moment. In this quiet, mindful attention, the child's consciousness creates time, the feeling of days, seasons, and change. The world may move according to physical laws, but the mind gives it texture, rhythm, and meaning. Our brains are remarkable in the way they compress and expand time. Routine makes days shrink, novelty makes them stretch. Emotional intensity magnifies moments. Focus elongates minutes, while distraction fragments hours. Consciousness is not a passive observer. It actively sculpts the passage of experience. In this sense, our minds are both the clock and the weaver, marking intervals and stitching events into a living narrative. Even in contemplation of the timeless universe, consciousness finds a rhythm. meditation practitioners report feeling both eternal presence and unfolding awareness simultaneously. They notice that the mind constructs a narrative even when external markers of time are absent. Awareness itself is enough to create the experience of flow. This reminds us that while clocks and calendars help navigate shared life, the feeling of time originates within. Finally, let us consider a gentle practice for reflection. Close your eyes and imagine a quiet stream. Notice how water flows past rocks, leaves, and sunlight. Now imagine your mind as the stream, carrying memories, sensations, and thoughts. See how the current creates a sense of motion. The water itself does not need to be timed, it simply moves. Let this image rest in your mind, showing how consciousness shapes the passage of life, turning experience into flowing time. In the next chapter, we will explore the mysterious arrow of time, why time seems to move only forward, and what laws of the universe define this direction. For now, rest in the understanding that your mind gently shapes the flow of life, giving every moment its meaning, depth, and texture. Chapter 13. The Arrow of Time. Now, let us continue our gentle journey and consider one of the most familiar experiences of life, the feeling that time always moves forward. We wake, the sun rises, seasons change, and life unfolds in a sequence we cannot reverse. This sense of direction in time is called the arrow of time, and in this chapter, we will explore why time seems to flow in only one direction, why we remember the past but not the future, and what physical laws might be guiding this forward movement. We will move slowly, imagining each idea like a calm river flowing quietly through a forest, noticing the details without hurry. The first clue to the arrow of time comes from everyday life. We see ice melt, leaves fall, and cups break. But we never see water spontaneously freeze into ice without cold, leaves leap back to branches, or shards of a broken cup gather themselves together. Life seems to have a one-way motion. From the simplest observation, we notice that events have a natural order. This order is subtle, gentle, and consistent. It tells us something about how the universe organizes itself. Physics gives us a deeper insight. The second law of thermodynamics is a key part of this story. It states that entropy, or disorder, tends to increase over time in a closed system. A tidy room tends to get messy, a hot cup of tea cools down, energy spreads out. This law is not about judgment or preference. It is a pattern that emerges from countless tiny interactions in nature. As disorder increases, time feels like it flows forward. Entropy gives the universe a gentle push toward the future. This law also explains why memory works the way it does. We remember the past, not the future, because the past is more ordered relative to our present. Memories are stored as structured information, and the brain reconstructs events from that order. The future, being more uncertain and less structured, cannot leave a memory behind. In this sense, the arrow of time is intimately tied to how consciousness perceives and interacts with the world. But there are fascinating exceptions and subtleties. At very small scales in the world of quantum physics, some processes can appear to be reversible. Particles can move in ways that do not clearly define a forward or backward direction. Yet when we step back to the level of our daily experience, these tiny reversals average out. The arrow of time emerges clearly in the world we live in. Our cups still break, our eggs still cook, and our lives continue to flow in one direction. Gravity also gives time its shape. When objects move near extremely dense masses, like stars or black holes, time itself stretches and bends. An observer far from a black hole will see a clock near it run slowly, while the person close to the black hole experiences time normally. This is not the reversal of time, but a gentle bending of its passage. Even here, the arrow persists locally. Events still unfold from a lower entropy state to a higher entropy state. The arrow of time is not only a physical phenomenon, it is also deeply psychological. When we anticipate tomorrow, we are following the arrow in our minds. We plan, hope, and act as if there is a clear forward path. Even dreams and memories follow a sequence. We recall the past, live the present, and imagine the future. Our consciousness mirrors the arrow, creating a seamless experience that feels natural and inevitable. Stories illustrate this well. Imagine a river flowing through a quiet valley. Leaves float on the water, moving downstream. If you follow one leaf, you can see the sequence of events. The leaf leaves the branch, drifts past stones, and eventually reaches the wider river. You cannot reverse this flow. The leaf cannot float upstream by itself. The river is gentle, yet it shows the arrow of time in every movement. Life feels similar. The sequence of cause and effect, the unfolding of events, creates the forward motion we call experience. Yet, the arrow of time can also inspire reflection. Because it moves forward, each moment is unique and never returns. We cannot relive a sunrise, a conversation, or a laugh in exactly the same way. This awareness invites us to be present, to notice small details, and to savor life's gentle unfolding. The same laws that push time forward also give life meaning, urgency, and beauty. Philosophers and scientists have imagined universes where time might reverse, or where multiple arrows of time exist. Some suggest that in certain cosmological scenarios, time in one region could flow opposite to ours. Others imagine a mirrored universe where entropy decreases locally. These ideas are fascinating to consider, but in our lived reality, the arrow flows steadily forward, guiding events and shaping perception. To rest with this understanding, take a moment to imagine a gentle sunrise. Notice the gradual light spreading across the horizon, each moment unfolding softly into the next. Like the sun, time moves forward, carrying life, events, and consciousness along its quiet current. Entropy, memory, and causality work together to create this forward motion. Yet within this flow, we can pause, reflect, and appreciate the unique beauty of each unfolding moment. As we finish this chapter, let your mind rest in the steady, gentle river of time. Notice how the arrow moves effortlessly, carrying everything in a continuous flowing path. In the next chapter, we will journey into the strange and beautiful world of quantum physics, exploring how time can lose its usual meaning and what this might reveal about reality itself. Chapter 14: Quantum Physics and the Death of Time. Now let us step softly into a realm that is both mysterious and beautiful, where our usual ideas of past, present, and future begin to bend. This is the world of quantum physics, the science of the very small, where particles can be in two places at once, and events do not always follow the neat order we experience in daily life. In this chapter, we will explore how time itself can lose its usual meaning at this microscopic scale, and what that might tell us about the nature of reality. We will move slowly, like watching sunlight filter through the leaves of a quiet forest, noticing each gentle detail. Quantum physics reveals that at the tiniest levels of matter, the universe behaves in ways that feel almost magical. Particles can exist in a state of superposition, where they are in multiple states at the same time, only settling into a single state when observed. Imagine a coin spinning in the air, both heads and tails, until you catch it. In this tiny world, the familiar flow of time does not always apply. Cause and effect, past and future, can blur. Entanglement adds another layer of wonder. two particles can become linked in such a way that the state of one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. If a particle on Earth changes, its partner on the other side of the galaxy responds immediately. This phenomenon challenges our usual ideas about time and distance. It suggests that, at a deep level, the universe may not follow the strict sequence of moments that we perceive. In this sense, time becomes a flexible, almost optional backdrop for reality. Some physicists propose that at the most fundamental level, the universe may be timeless. Time could emerge only as an approximation at larger scales, when countless particles interact and create patterns that our brains interpret as flow. In this view, the familiar past, present, and future are not built into reality itself. They arise from the way matter and energy arrange themselves, and from the way consciousness experiences those arrangements. This idea is radical, yet it can be imagined gently. Picture a vast mosaic, each tile complete in itself. Up close, you see the individual tiles, each existing fully and independently. Step back, and you notice patterns, lines, and movement. The movement is not in the tiles themselves, but in how your eyes interpret the arrangement. Time, in a similar way, may emerge from the relationships between events, not from the events themselves. Quantum gravity, a field that seeks to unite the laws of the very small with the laws of the very large, also suggests timelessness. Some models propose a universe where space exists without time, or where time arises from deeper variables we cannot yet observe. If this is correct, then time, as we know it, is a human perception applied to a more fundamental timeless reality. The familiar ticking of clocks, the rising of the sun, the passing of seasons are emergent patterns, not fundamental truths. These ideas may seem abstract, but they have profound implications for our understanding of existence. If time is not fundamental, then the universe can be seen as a vast static structure in which all events exist together. Past, present, and future might coexist, each moment fully present in a grand, timeless tapestry. Conscious beings like us experience the flow of time because our minds interpret sequences and correlations. The arrow of time, entropy, and memory all give the appearance of movement within this timeless structure. Even human consciousness hints at this. When we dream, meditate, or enter states of deep flow, time often feels stretched, compressed, or absent. These experiences may reflect on a small scale the flexibility of time that quantum physics reveals on a universal scale. The mind, in its own way, touches the edge of timelessness, feeling what it is like to exist outside the strict flow of moments. There are soft stories that illustrate these ideas. Imagine a painter creating a canvas where all colours and shapes already exist in their minds. Each stroke of the brush is not creating time but revealing what is already there. The painting unfolds in the mind perception, just as the universe may unfold in consciousness, creating the sense of time where none is fundamental. In this quiet, gentle way, we see that time is as much about how we experience reality as it is about reality itself. This chapter invites us to consider that the world we see, the sunrise, the waves, the ticking clocks, is only part of the story. Beneath the surface, reality may be timeless, vast, and interconnected in ways our senses cannot directly perceive. The flow of time, the movement from past to future, may be a kind of lens through which consciousness observes an otherwise static, eternal universe. To rest with this idea, take a deep, calm breath. Imagine the particles of the universe dancing in superpositions entangled across space, forming a silent, timeless structure. See that the flow of seconds is a gentle illusion, emerging from deeper connections. Let this understanding be soothing, like the quiet hum of stars in the night sky, reminding you that there is vastness, beauty, and mystery beyond the ticking of clocks. In the next chapter, we will gently explore how philosophy has approached these questions, from Aristotle to Kant, and how thinkers have tried to define time itself. We will see how human ideas, reasoning, and reflection have sought to understand this elusive, flowing, and sometimes absent dimension. Chapter 15: The Philosophy of Time. Now, let us settle into a gentle reflection on how humans have tried to understand time through philosophy. While science shows us the mechanics of the universe, philosophy asks deeper, quieter questions. What is time itself, and how does it shape reality in our experience? In this chapter, we will slowly explore these ideas, moving like a calm stream through centuries of human thought, noticing each insight without rush. Humans have always been fascinated by time. Aristotle, one of the earliest thinkers to study it, saw time as a measure of change. To him, time was not something that existed on its own. It depended on motion and events. A world with no change would have no time. This idea invites a gentle reflection. If nothing moves, if no life unfolds, can there be a before or after? Aristotle's insight connects the flow of time to the life of the universe itself. Centuries later, philosophers like St. Augustine approached time from the perspective of consciousness. Augustine famously said, "What then is time? If no one asks me, I know. If I wish to explain it to one that asks, I know not." He noticed that the past only exists in memory, the future only in expectation, and the present is fleeting, almost impossible to capture. In our own quiet minds, we can feel this truth. The past is remembered, the future is imagined, and the present slips away even as we try to hold it. Other thinkers proposed more radical ideas. Presentists argue that only the present truly exists. The past is gone, the future is not yet real. In this view, the now is all that's alive, and every experience must be anchored in the present moment. Eternalists, in contrast, suggest that all moments, past, present, and future, exist equally. In this view, time is like a landscape. We move through it, but every moment is already there, fully formed. The growing block theory lies somewhere in between, suggesting that the past and present exist, but the future is yet to be created. These debates may feel abstract, yet they gently mirror our own awareness of memory, expectation, and the fleeting present. Philosophy also asks what time means for free will and human choice. If all moments exist, as eternalists suggest, are we truly making decisions, or are our actions already laid out in the structure of reality? If only the present exists, are we shaping the future moment by moment? These questions invite quiet contemplation rather than answers. They encourage us to notice how deeply our experience of time shapes our understanding of life, responsibility, and meaning. Kant, another towering thinker, had a unique perspective. He proposed that time is not a property of the universe itself, but a form imposed by our minds. In other words, our perception organizes experiences in a temporal order. Time, like a lens, allows consciousness to interpret events in a way that makes sense. We can gently reflect on this. What we experience as flowing moments may be a construct of the mind, a soft framework through which we understand reality. Even in everyday life, philosophy is at work. When we remember a childhood memory or anticipate a future event, we are participating in these ideas naturally. Our minds create a narrative, giving sequence, meaning, and coherence to life. Philosophy, then, is not only an abstract study, it is a mirror of our consciousness, helping us understand why time feels so real, why it flows, and why it sometimes feels elastic or fleeting. Stories often illuminate these ideas better than abstract concepts. Imagine a traveller walking along a mountain path. Behind them lies the valley of the past, full of memories. Ahead stretches a misty landscape of possibilities, the future yet unseen. Every step forward is the present, the moment in which life is experienced. The traveller cannot step back into the valley nor leap forward into the mist. Yet in their mind, memories and imagination create the sense of continuity, shaping the journey. In this way, consciousness and philosophy meet, illustrating how we experience the flow of time. Even today, philosophical inquiry continues to explore time in connection with science, consciousness, and reality. By studying how humans perceive time, how minds construct the present, and how the universe behaves, philosophers bridge our inner experience with the vastness of existence. Time, then, is not just a clock or a calendar. It is a living, layered concept, unfolding quietly in both our minds and the cosmos. As we rest with this chapter, take a moment to breathe and reflect. Consider the soft interplay of memory, expectation, and presence in your own life. Notice how each moment unfolds, carrying the weight of the past and the hint of what is yet to come. Time is both familiar and mysterious, tangible and elusive, a quiet river that flows through consciousness, science, and philosophy alike.